Happy Halloween, viewers. Tonight is the tale of a century. Tonight I tell you the urban legend so scary that you might not be able to sleep tonight. And if that is the case, the only single remedy that can help you get through this fright is a glass of warm milk. I definitely recommend it. It's very good at night. Honestly, it would really help you out. But anyway, on to the story. Let me just find the right page. Tis a bit dusty. Hasn't been used in a few years. Anyway, enjoy. So The Grey Lady is a story which has always intrigued me because as a kid I used to spend a lot of time in the Victoria Country Park with friends. And I remember first being told the story. Of course the story changed a lot with friends, as tends to happen with kids when they tell stories. Parts of the tale change from time to time, and so it's hard to remember what version I was actually told first. But I do remember that it scared me, a lot. Enough to never try any of the ways of summoning her just to see. But before we get into the legend, let's talk a little bit about the old hospital itself. The Netley Military Hospital was opened for patients on March 11th, 1863, but the foundation stone was laid by Queen Victoria herself some 7 years earlier in 1856. Underneath the stone was placed a copy of the plans, the first ever Victoria Cross, a Crimea medal and some coins of the realm. When the building was completed it had some 138 wards and approximately 1,000 beds. At the time, it was Britain's largest military hospital, but even though the building was incredibly impressive, it was badly designed, as was commented on by none other than Florence Nightingale herself. When the building was designed, she was busy in the Crimea War, but when she came back she expressed her opinion and highlighted flaws in the design. Unfortunately by that stage the building was way too far along in the construction process for them to change the design. When it was finished the building was enormous and visually stunning, but incredibly impractical. Corridors were sea facing, leaving the wards to face the inner courtyard, and because of this they had very little in the way of light or air for ventilation. This meant that the place had many lingering smells as you walked through the building. In fact, in 1867, journalist Matthew Wallingford visited the hospital and wrote of his experience, and said, "It was a ghastly display of deception to say the least. To the naked eye it is a triumph of modern architecture, but should you inherit the misfortune to be sectioned there, one would not think of the place as so. It is not so much the greatest military hospital in the world, as much as a rather impractical waste of government finance." But regardless of these downfalls, the hospital was put to use for nearly 100 years. But in 1963, the same year that the hospital should be celebrating its 100-year anniversary since it started accepting patients, catastrophe struck. A huge fire swept through the building, irreparably damaging the majority of the structure, and as a result the building was torn down in 1966. But not before Jonathan Miller managed to film his 1966 version of Alice in Wonderland in the hospital. In fact, the only part of the hospital that remained, and still remains to this day, is the chapel, which also happens to be the main focal point for our urban legend, the Grey Lady. The Grey Lady, before she was known as that, had been a kind, beautiful nurse who worked at the hospital. It is said that many men would dream of having her as his wife, and over the years many had attempted to gain her favour, but none had succeeded. That is until one day when a young, handsome soldier came to the hospital and met with the nurse. The pair instantly fell head over heels in love with each other, and during his time in the hospital they became very close. But there was a problem. The young soldier had a wife and children waiting for him back at home, but that didn't stop the couple from seeing each other all they could, as they were madly in love. That is until the day came for the soldier to return home. The nurse begged for him to leave his wife and stay with her, and although the soldier wanted to, he told her he had to return home for his children, but he would write to her as soon as he could, and when the time was right, they could run away together. So she waited. And waited, but a letter never came. Her heart sank and she thought she would never hear from him again, but took solace in the fact that he would be happy with his children. Until one day a new group of soldiers came into the hospital, and while treating them she overheard one of them mention the young soldier's name. So she listened in and learned the awful truth. When he had returned home he had very quickly been sent back to the front, and had unfortunately been killed. Distraught she ran to the top of the chapel's tower and just sobbed, knowing now that she would never see or hear from him ever again. She couldn't take it anymore. She couldn't go on, and threw herself from the top of the tower, so she could once again see her lost love. Of course there are many versions of this story. Some say the man was her husband, some say it was a soldier whom she loved but he did not love her in return, and some say that she murdered him and killed herself. But this is my favourite version of the story. Either way, it has the same sticky ending. In terms of the legend today, it has faded a little and not many people know about it anymore. So because of that, very few people know that it is said to see the Grey Lady, all you need to do is shout up at the top of the tower 3 times on Halloween night, the words Grey Lady. And as legend has it, you will see a ghostly figure jump from the tower and disappear into the ground. Well, tomorrow is Halloween. Anyone want to give it a try?
So, again, that is the tale of the Grey Lady. I hope I haven't scared you too much and that you can sleep tonight, but like I said, if you have issues, try a warm glass of milk. But that is it for tonight. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye guys. Happy Halloween. What the fuck am I doing?